10 minutes left. Can Stericycle come and
Yeah,
answer
David,
the
we
question?
want
It's
to
sitting there.
talk to Stericycle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You want to
That'd be
talk
great.
We do provide a very necessary service to the community, and so, it is our intent to stay and be a good neighbor in the community.
I'm Dr. Brian Mensch. I'm the president of the Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment. I'm a practicing anesthesiologist at LDS Hospital, and I'm fellowship trained in intensive care medicine. I'll give you about a 30-second summary of what we would like you to think of regarding the health consequences of incinerator facilities. Stericycle is constantly releasing what really amounts to poison in the most populated part of Utah. With Utah having the highest rates of autism in the nation, having sometimes the worst air pollution in the nation, with the medical literature repeatedly showing a strong correlation between the two, every contributing source to the problem must be renewed in our scrutiny of them, both from the public and from regulators. The scientific evidence that facilities like this cause serious harm to the surrounding community is as undeniable as the evidence that smoking causes lung cancer. Now, on the slide you see here before you are figures taken from the permit. This facility is permitted to emit into the atmosphere, into this neighborhood, 300 pounds of lead per year, 912 pounds of chlorine per year, 18 pounds of cadmium, 60 pounds of mercury, and I hope this is a typo, but the permit says 1,294 tons of hydrogen fluoride. Now, hydrogen fluoride is one of the most toxic gases known. It's used by about half of the refineries in the country. It is so toxic that the EPA requires refineries to make a risk assessment. If their tank of hydrogen fluoride explodes and creates a hydrogen fluoride gas in the community, the EPA requires the refineries to make an assessment of how many people would die if that happened. Worst case scenario. The EPA's assessment for most of these refineries is hundreds of thousands of people would die in that case. Their permit allows them to emit 1,294 tons per year from this facility. That amount of mercury is comparable to a full-scale coal-fired power plant. The CDC has stated there's no safe level of lead and there's no safe level of mercury to be exposed to the community, especially to children. Yet this facility is emitting as much heavy metals like mercury and lead as a full-size coal-fired power plant. And worse still, it is being emitted from a smokestack that is much shorter. So the concentration in the local community is higher. This facility does not provide a necessary product or service to the community. There are safer ways to dispose of hospital waste that we will leave to others to offer details on. Finally, the health consequences of this incinerator make it unquestionably an overall economic liability to the community. It is long overdue that the incinerator part of this facility be shut down. Thank you.
Yes, I'm just curious. We just had a lot of information that was really alarming, especially to me and a lot of other people here, and a lot of people here have children and family members that have health issues that live right around here, and I just find it really alarming that you guys are leaving at 8 o'clock. Is there no way that you can stay and answer our questions? It feels like you came
I
for
do
a minute.
apologize. No, I apologize because I live in Colorado, and I have obligations tomorrow morning in Colorado that, in fact, I was supposed to leave on Tuesday, and when we found out about the meeting, we made the decision to stay so that we could come and at least, have a voice. So I do apologize. I wish I could have stayed longer. This is the last flight out, and I have to be in Colorado tomorrow
What
morning.
about him? Can he stay and answer our questions? There's a lot of children in the room or parents of children that have autism. This is a daily thing that we are affected by. Can someone stay and answer our questions?
I'm Todd Weiler, I'm a state senator for this area. I called Stericycle on Monday and asked them to come to this meeting. They actually extended their flights. They were supposed to leave on Tuesday. The organizers of this meeting decided to, knowing that they had to leave at 8 o'clock, decided to give a half an hour to other people to speak. I don't think it's fair. They didn't have to come at all. I asked them. I think it's fair. I think we should be thanking them for coming. They didn't have to come at all. They didn't have to come at all. And I just don't think it's fair. I asked them to extend their flights. She has a wedding tomorrow.
Let's quit wasting our time.
I think we should ask some questions.
How much did they donate to your campaign?
0.
I offered for somebody to take her to the airport if need be so that the other 3 could stay. So if that's still an opportunity, we would love to do that for you. I have somebody that would be more than willing to take you to the airport so that the other 3 can stay here and discuss this. Obviously, it's a touchy subject, and we feel kind of degraded in the fact that we didn't know you were out of compliance in 2011. We didn't know you were out of compliance in 2012, and we did not know you were out of compliance in 2013 until just very recently. So this is very, very sensitive for everybody. Does that make sense to you? I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. And the folks that are with me have obligations as well. And so I don't know, maybe there's some way for us to continue this conversation at a later date.
And it's not just because I don't like the color of their fence. It's because I believe I've been personally affected by that incinerator.
Yes.
My wife had complications with her pregnancy, where the doctor said, I've never seen anything like this. My child was born with defects. So when people come up here and say, don't attack them, or first let me say thank you to my councilmen that are here, because last time we were here, this neighborhood hasn't smelled so good since. You know, and that's the truth. But when I hear of the impacts that it has on other mothers, there's so many children within our community.
It's not
You have
chosen
to
to do that.
meet federal law, and you can pass laws that are better than the
Then
federal
strict,
law,
yeah.
that
We
protect.
do have that power. We have chosen not to do that as a state because we're a business-friendly state.
Will you sponsor a bill for us?
Would you sponsor a bill?
I can sponsor a bill, and I can tell you how far it'll get, but if you want me to run the bill, I'll run it.
Because it costs the money.
Well, I know you believe that. I don't accept any special interest money. I don't accept $1 of corporate money. So that it's not about the money for me. And I don't want to take over this meeting, but I'm happy to
Senator,
answer
can I
questions.
make a point of clarification?
Sure.
I've tried for 8 years working with Stericycle, and in the 5 times I've scheduled meetings with Stericycle, they've jumped out every meeting. So not to be disrespectful to you, I've scheduled meetings with 2 months' notice, and they skipped out. This isn't unusual for their behavior. They do it all the time.
Okay. And all I can do is testify from my experience. And my experience was I first talked to them Monday, and they were very cooperative. And I'm sorry that you had a different experience. And it does help to have a title with your name. I don't deny that. So.
So good.